Hey folks, welcome back to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey. Today we're taking a look at this one right here, Sign. Now this is a card game that will go anywhere from 4 to 9 players, and it takes 20 plus minutes to play because sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to get that in-game trigger working. The ages are from 8 and up, and basically you're trying to get a quintet of 5 exactly identical symbols in your hand of 5 cards. And if you're able to do that and signal one of your teammates so that they can ask you to show your cards, you'll score a point. First team to get 3 points is the winner. Let's get down to the table. I'll show you how it works. We'll come back with some final thoughts in just a few minutes. Now here I have set up for you a 5-player game of Sign. Now Sign is where you're trying to get 5 of the same symbol in your hand, and then it is a team game. You have to give a signal, some kind of very subtle signal to at least one of your teammates so that they can choose you to say Sign and then lay down your 5 cards, showing that you have a quintet of the same symbol that are on these different cards. And if you're able to do that, you score a point. And the first team to get to 3 points is the winner. Now, that might seem easier said than done, and it is, because not only do you have to make sure that you have 5 of the same symbol in your hand before your teammate calls you to show that you have a sign, you also have to make sure that the signal that you're giving your teammate is not noticed by any of the other teams, because if one of the other teams catches you or asks you to show your sign first, then before your teammate does, then they're going to grab the point from you. And also, if you're unlucky and you think that you have 5 of the same, but you actually don't because one of them is slightly different than the other, then that's going to cause an end to the round as well, and you shuffle all the cards back together and start over. So basically on your turn, what's going to happen is we're going to have 6 cards. Actually, the rule book determines that how many cards are going to be put out, determined by how many players are in the game. In a 5-player game, 6 cards are put out here. And everybody is going to take up their hands, and they're going to be selecting cards from the middle and replacing them with cards from their hand. They can only do 1 at a time, though, and you can take from the middle and then replace, or you can push, you can put your card down into the middle and then take. Either way, it doesn't matter. So in this particular case, maybe I want to go for these up here, so I'm going to go ahead and put this one down and take this one, because these match, and so that's that. When you put a card down into the middle, you have to make sure that all of the cards are still visible, and this is done simultaneously and freely between all of the players at the same time. So while I'm putting this one down and taking this one, somebody else is going to be taking that one and replacing it with something else, and so forth and so on. And this continues until everybody is either if the round ends where one person gets 5, or if there are no other cards out here that nobody wants, and it's a general consensus that, yeah, this is all a bunch of junk, then at that point, this will be wiped away. 6 new cards will be placed out, like so. And then we continue going until somebody gets 5 of the same in their hand and gets one of their teammates to be able to get them to lay those cards down by some type of very secretive signal. And this continues until, like I said earlier, one team gets 3 points. And if that is the case, that team is the winner. Now, as you can see, some of these shapes are very similar. For example, these are very similar. There's just a little bit missing right up here. But at a quick glance, you could think that these were the same. Same thing with these over here. Maybe you'll look at these 2 cards and just at a glance, you'll think that these are both the same, but one is actually missing a little bit up here. So there's a lot of different things that are going on here. These 2 match, like this right here, but this doesn't match. But you could, again, this is kind of a speedy type game, and so you're looking at these quickly, and so you might confuse these, but maybe not. This is a quick game where you have to be on your toes, and you also have to keep your eyes on not only the cards and what other people are taking to try to maybe steal a point from another team, but you also have to have your eyes up on your teammates as well, because they're going to be trying to shoot you those very secretive symbols or signals to try to get you to choose them to lay down their 5 cards, trying to tell you that they've got their 5 cards ready to go. But that is generally speaking how you play Sign. So that's about that for Sign. As I was teaching my sons and their friends how to play, and they're pretty much upper high school, already some of them have already graduated, they said, okay, this is Squares. We know how to play this game. So if you've played Squares with a regular deck of cards, then you probably are pretty savvy on how to play Sign, because it's from what they said, it plays almost identically, with one caveat being that you can't just arbitrarily trash the pool in the middle of the table. It has to be a consensus in Sign. All right, so my first pro of the game is that it's colorful. I like the colors, and I also like the shapes. I've always been kind of a sucker for geometric shapes, and triangles are some of my favorite ones. And then on top of that, not only are you dealing with a triangle, you're also dealing with different shape patterns within that triangle. And that is really appealing to me. Now, it might just be boring to you guys, and that's absolutely fine. But for me as a pro, because I liked how it looked on the table. And I also liked how challenging it was to make sure that the shape or the symbol that you were looking for is the same one you were about to grab, because some of those symbols look very similar. And if you're because you're doing this on the fly, because you're doing it simultaneously, and there's a little bit of a speed factor to it, because you want to try to grab this symbol before somebody else does, possibly, then you can mess up really easily and take the wrong card. You do have to be pretty eagle-eyed on the shapes that you're taking into your hand, because you'll lay them down and then you'll see, oh, that one isn't the same, or that one is definitely slightly different than the rest of them. So you do have to be very careful with it. So I liked the shapes, I liked the colors that were used in this game. Now, at first I was worried because of what I perceived to be a definite speed element in that simultaneously taking cards from the center. But in the games that I played, it was a lot more tame than I was expecting, so it's going to be a pro in this particular case, because while I don't usually like those kinds of simultaneous taking cards from the middle, because you're going to be slapping people and digging your talons into other people's hands and that type of stuff, but it didn't get like that, so I'm going to give it a pass on this one. It's actually a pro, because it was a very tame simultaneous. Now, I understand with different groups of people that might not be true, but in my experience with the game, it was, so it was fine. Now, as far as I can tell, there are only 5 of each symbol in the deck, and that's going to introduce my cons section, because that entered into a dry spell within the middle of the game, because there was often, in the games that we played, there was often a time where, yep, wash those. Everybody just kept looking at the 6 cards that were there. Nah, we don't want any of that. And they would get washed, and then 6 new come out. No, don't want any of that either. And so there were a couple of times where the washing happened many times in a row, and that was boring. And so that's going to be one of the first cons of the game. It has the opportunity, I guess you could say, to turn into a slog, because those cards that are coming out aren't what anybody's looking for. And I know that won't always happen, but it did happen frequently in the games that I played. So I did want to mention it here as a con, that it has the opportunity to really kind of bog down and come to a snail's pace, and then after a while it'll pick up again. But that snail's pace interval there was kind of boring, so I needed to mention it here. So all in all, I think that that's about all I can say, good and bad, about Sign. I enjoyed the game. It wasn't a bad game, but at the same time, it's another game that you can play with a regular deck of cards. So whether or not you're going to fork out the extra cash that you're going to need to pay for this graphic design and these cards and that type of thing, rather than just use your poker deck at home, I don't know. But 5 out of 10 for me is probably where I'm going to land on here, because it is simply a filler card game, and it's a 5 out of 10 for that genre for me. This is not going to be one of the first ones that I come to whenever I am trying to get just a 20-30 minute game down with just a basic card game with other people. There are other games out there that I probably would fall to a lot faster, you know, that might be slightly longer, but I think I'll enjoy that extra time investment a little bit more than I will the shorter investment with this one. So that's it for me, 5 out of 10 for Sign. It's a decent game, not bad, but also not that great either, in my opinion. So take that to the bank, I guess, or I don't know. I don't even know why I said that. Anyway, we'll see you guys on the flip side. Take care now.